Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Friday Charge from the Geek podcast. We're your hosts, Joel and Sebastian, and today, May 2nd, 2025, we've got a handful of topics on the docket, such as Tesla has given us a lot more information on their new semi-truck. Rivian might have been prepared for this all along. There's a new EV startup to talk about, and we've got a couple other little things to mention. So without further ado, let's plug in and get started. All right, so our first topic of the night is not on the dock. Gotcha. Joel, you got your EV six-pack.
Oh, yes, I did. Hate when he doesn't follow the script. So, yes, got the EV six-pack. It was, like I said, it was the vehicle control module. They had it for a week, so I believe the part came in on a Monday, and he called me Monday morning and said we should have it to you either by the end of the afternoon or the early morning, and they by 3 o'clock they had it. So, so kudos to Landers Kia for getting that fixed up for me. They supercharged it there from like 65 to 80%. I watched it on the app, so it worked there. I am going to do some experimenting with the Tesla app and the Kia app at the Tesla superchargers now that Kia has supercharger access this weekend. So I'll be able to test it out there to see if it's still up and running, which I'm assuming it will be. So yes, I got my Kia back. We got all of our cars back. Got the second, got the 1450 outlet installed. We'll have a video coming on that here in a couple weeks. So yeah, I got two great ways to charge at home now. So we're full to go. So
all the cards are finally starting to get back in your favor. You've got all your chargers at home working finally. All your cars are working finally. Things are back in your favor.
Thank God.
Because you had a rough 2 weeks there.
Dude, it was like
connector died. So you couldn't charge your car at home.
Yes. Luckily, during that time, we had bought my 16-year-old a car. So we did have a second car in the house, because that's one thing Kia is not good about is they're out of their loaners. So I said, that's fine. I got another car. Just take your time with it, because they didn't want me driving it while it was getting worked on, which is fine. So now we're ready for some news stories.
Now we'll go to a news story.
Okay.
Tesla plans to start the Semi Network. So at this week's ACT Expo, Tesla announced their plan to begin building out a public charge network for its electric semi, stating that they plan to launch 46 locations by 2027. Tesla also disclosed that the current Tesla semi fleet has traveled 7.9 million miles. We don't know how many trucks make up that fleet, but That's a number.
That's a lot of miles, Joe.
Tesla also showed off that the truck will have the ability to offload up to 25 kilowatts of energy for external hardware such as a refrigerated trailer or hydraulic like car haulers, etc. And I don't have really a whole lot of other notes on this other than if you look at the little map they showed of the semi network, which I mean it's kind of a rendering map. It's not necessarily a hardcore street map. They have some very obvious routes that it seems like they're targeting for the semi network, which it looks like he pulled up the one article that doesn't have that picture. Good job, Joel.
Yeah. That's how I roll.
That's how you roll. Anyway, it was a lot of California, obviously, and then like Arizona, kind of the southern edge of the country.
Yep.
And then also there was a chunk in South Carolina. Coming from the Gulf, or not the Gulf, the Atlantic over. So.
In South Carolina?
Yeah.
That's my home state. I have to do some more research on that. So where are they at? Where's it going from South Carolina to where?
So I saw some speculation that's likely from the port.
Oh, Charleston. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and then just kind of moving inward from there.
Okay.
It didn't seem like it was only like 3 stations though.
Which makes sense because if they're using these for non-Teslas, there's a lot of EV manufacturing that happens in South Carolina. So you have the BMW plant up in Greenville, you have the Volvo plant in Ridgeville, and there if you go down in Charleston, you go down to where the containers are, there are a lot of vehicles that are down there. So there's a lot of freight that moves through the area down there in Charleston. So that does make sense.
Okay,
So
interesting.
yeah, I'm happy. I mean, yeah, if Tesla wants to get these semis more on the road, they're going to have to expand the charging network for them. I know I've heard they've been doing more. I've heard some of the practice trips they've been doing down to Arizona and back. So I'm curious, are these planned for long distance trips? Are these like coast to coast trucks? Are these just going to kind of go up and down, the east and west
Right.
coast? That's what I'm
Right.
curious about.
Yeah. Moving on. Sorry. Trump has scaled back some auto tariffs. So earlier this week, President Trump signed an executive order to make sure automakers don't get hit with, quote, double tariffs. The executive order states that they won't be hit with an additional 25% tariff on top of the existing tariffs on metals or Canada or Mexico, etc. So, I mean, this is a good thing in the sense that automakers aren't going to be hit twice,
Yep.
but they're still going to get hit with tariffs that didn't exist a couple weeks ago. Um, so it's a positive, but like loosely. And so, yeah, I don't have a whole lot else to contribute on this. Just hopefully this means maybe we won't see as crazy price swings in the automotive space. However, we've already seen a little bit with other industries where they're not being super transparent with like tariff stuff. They're just giving it as an excuse to then just raise their prices by way more than whatever the percentage tariff they would be paying on it is. And I don't necessarily trust all of the automakers enough to say that they won't do the same thing.
Yeah. I was listening to a podcast last night or reading an article last night that stated that like Stellantis was unable to give guidance and projections for their upcoming quarter because of the tariffs. They were unable to make a projection of what they thought sales would be and profits would be because of the upcoming tariffs. And I think GM also had the same response. Like, we're unable to give guidance right now because of the uncertainty around these tariffs. So yeah, I mean, I think you are right. I mean, Ford. I mean, I listened to an interview yesterday with Jim Farley, and he says as of right now, it's not going to affect their prices because they've already the prices are their cars are already made basically, and the price is already built in. Now looking down the line to July, August, September is when they said that's where you may see some of these tariff prices coming in. And Jim Farley, if you watch his interview with CNN, he stated over and over again that Ford is the most American-made car company out there. And he said it at like about 10 times. So he said, Ford, most American car company out there. And the guy later even said that. He said, you keep saying that a lot. So yeah, so it's curious how this is going to affect. We've already seen some manufacturers like Land Rover and some other ones said we're not bringing in cars right now because of these tariffs. So it's I'll be curious to see how this takes effect, and will eventually these tariffs kind of on these automakers kind of just be wiped away as we go down. So this is always a developing story that we'll probably talk about every week from here on out. So
unfortunately.
Well,
let's move on, shall we? There's a new EV startup to talk about. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to run through my talking points real quick.
Sure.
So there's another EV startup planning on offering a cheap electric truck. Slate Auto is an American startup manufacturer that plans to build a, quote, modular electric pickup with a starting price of under $20,000 after incentives. Slate has taken an interesting approach to making their car that cheap. The base vehicle is a two-seater pickup with steel wheels, crank windows, no radio, no speakers, and expected battery size of 52.7 kilowatt hours. There's an optional larger pack, but obviously that one won't be $20,000.
Yeah.
The fully modular design, though, means that you can take this two-seater pickup and convert it to a five-seater SUV. You could add speakers, you can do custom body panels, etc. Slate expects to begin customer deliveries in Q4 2026 and has announced that production will be taking place in Warsaw, Indiana. So, now, let's take a look at this thing. It's pretty
Build me a Slate.
It's pretty
Sebastian,
interesting. I'm going to share my screen,
and then buy
Slate
it for
Auto,
me.
share. This truck can be anything. So this is their marketing, right? So you see, this is the base truck or the blank slate. And you say it looks like a 1990s Isuzu pickup truck. I can see it. I can dig it. And you can see, so they just have some demos of it, right? The
Yep.
professional. So there's that SUV, one of the SUV looks they show.
Looks like an old 90s Blazer.
Yep. Surf
There you
brake.
go. Go back
The
to another one.
Weekender.
Go back to another one. I can dig that. The surf brake. That's me right there. Yep.
You got a different style SUV. So instead of a fastback look, it kind of has more of that squared off Bronco look.
Yep.
Anyway, so this is their whole
cherry
thing,
bar.
right? Is you can do all of these different.
Will all these
designs.
be available at launch or not?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go in here and we're going to look at the blank slate. So I like the truck. I'm going to keep the truck. Nice, nice.
Yep.
There we go. Now it's done.
Ooh.
But you can see you can come in here body style. So you got the truck. You've got the SUV kit, which you can see it added back seats.
Uh-huh.
Then you've got the fastback. So I'm going to keep the truck. I like the truck.
R2, the fastback was like an R2.
And so then you have color, which you'll notice it says color is a wrap.
Okay.
So let's see here. We're going to do, what's this orange look like?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Best of the zest. Now I want to know Jungle Gym, Sage Serenity, Whole Lava Love.
So for those of you listening to our audio podcast, you're missing out. So if you're listening to us on audio, head over to YouTube because we're configuring our slate truck right now.
Okay, I'm still going to keep Best of the zest. Now I'm just
Okay.
looking at the name of the colors. Sorry.
Go ahead.
You
I'm
also
having
have
fun.
an option here for partial wrap, so you can choose to have
That just
like
looks
your
ugly.
front bumper a different color, or you can have the bed a different
No,
color.
no.
Or you can go Sparkle Pony Princess,
yes.
or
Sparkle Pony Princess.
do a black roof. Okay, I actually kind of like the black roof. We're gonna leave that.
I like that. I like the two-tone. Yes.
They have in their configurator where you can add some decals. Do you want to add a racing stripe?
I want the rainbows. Ooh, I like the white one. The white one's not bad.
White one's not bad. We can keep
Yeah.
the white. Sure.
We'll keep the white.
You can come in here. You also have some stuff in here. Like, do you want to add a roof rack? Which the answer to that question is always yes.
Yeah. But then you lose the stripe. So
hold on. No, it's still there. It's still there.
it's still okay. Yeah.
Yeah. The answer is always yes when a roof rack is presented, though. Let's see. I'm not going to do anything else there. You have exterior. So this is, again, it's all modular. You can kind of see that, right? You see on the body panels where there's the exposed screw heads and stuff like that. You can come up here, like there's a rear bumper upgrade. I want the spare tire on the back. That looks awesome.
There you go. It's the Hummer, baby.
So you can come in here, you can do a factory lift kit. So you can lift it or lower it. Well, I mean, we're in Arkansas. We got to lift it, right?
So basically, this is like one big Lego is what it is, isn't it?
It's essentially Legos, but not. Oh my gosh, you can add flower petal grills.
There you go, Sebastian. That's your flower petals.
This is so fun. I love it. I haven't done this yet. This is the first
So
time
what Sebastian's going to be doing at work all day tomorrow is playing with customizing his slate.
Okay, you can do maybe non. Oh yeah,
Oh,
there
those
we
are
go.
there. Very
There we
Rivian-ish,
go.
yes.
Or do we go?
I like the other ones better.
I like the other ones better. They're also smaller.
Yep.
But yeah, so nonetheless, just essentially fully modular. Oh, whoa!
Whoa, you lost it.
It took my truck bed away. No. Anyway, I don't care enough to go fix it.
That's actually not bad right there. So.
And then so you can come in here, you can add, so you see kind of default, it comes with like a little phone holder.
Yep.
And so then you do your phone and like a Bluetooth speaker or something. However, you can come in if you really, really must, and you can add in an iPad mount instead. And you can add in Bluetooth controls for your steering wheel, and you can put some speakers in the dash.
You know what? I'd be okay with a car that just has Bluetooth. That would not bother me.
Yeah. But anyway, it's a super neat thing. If you want to reserve a slate, you can do that here. It's $50, which isn't bad.
Nope.
The thing that I still am so hesitant on all of these things is, will this ever actually exist?
Yeah.
That's
it's a
question.
really cool idea. It's a really cool feature to where you can actually you could build any kind of car you want. I like that idea. I'd be curious to see how the price increments go up. Now everything that you've done is now like a $40,000 car. So yeah, that's what I'd be curious about.
And I have an opinion.
What's your opinion?
Everyone on the internet loves to be like, bring back the simple truck, bring back the basic trucks. I want the work trucks or whatever. people aren't buying the work trucks.
Nope.
The manufacturers make the trucks they make because they have the sales data to prove that's what people want.
Yeah, we don't see a lot of Silverado work trucks on the road.
There's a reason why you don't see a lot of consumer-owned single cab pickup trucks anymore. I don't know that the American buyer will have a lot of interest in a car with crank windows that only has 2 seats and doesn't have a radio and all that. Yes, someone will buy one.
But yeah, we're spoiled over here. We like our luxury things.
It's like, hell, I'll probably buy one even though I need a back seat, but it'll be like my Home Depot truck or something.
Yep.
Like it'll be for fun, right?
Yep.
But I don't see it being I don't see people necessarily picking it over other things, especially so their whole thing is like under 20 grand, which is great.
Yep.
Only if the tax credit stays around.
Yep.
Then you're talking 27.5 for the base one for a 2-seater pickup truck that has no features.
Yep.
And it's like that makes it a little harder for me to see, and that's why I have struggled to find it. Like, will it ever actually exist and sell in a quantity that matters?
Yep.
Or will it be a Lordstown Motor situation or a Canoe or...
Well, it's got some good backing. It's got, Jeff Bezos is backing it, so...
Canoe had Walmart and God knows who else, whoever else. Yep. It's just, I'm not saying I wish him no ill will. I would love, to check it out. There's another company, Tello, that's doing a similar, like, super cheap truck type deal that's a crew cab, so maybe it'll be more in line with what people typically actually want.
Isn't Kia coming out with a small EV pickup truck, possibly?
Allegedly, Kia is, there's going to be a lot of players in this space, but,
because that's one thing we haven't seen is a small, inexpensive pickup truck. Because all the pickup trucks on the road now are huge. I mean, the R1T is small-ish, but the price is not small-ish. Right. So we haven't seen something the size of a Ranger or like a Maverick. A Maverick would be it's a hybrid. A Maverick would be a perfect car size to be an EV that if you get around 30 or 35, I think would be awesome, because that's something that I would definitely buy. If a Maverick came out as an EV, not a hybrid, I could definitely get behind that.
Yeah. And that's, it's like, I wish them the best. I want the EV startups to make it. I want them to sell cars. We need more, competition and players in the space. We need more people to kind of push the envelope beyond what we're getting now. I wish them all the luck in the world. We've just seen so many EV startups say, hey, look, we're going to do this cool thing. We're going to do this cool thing. And then they disappear.
Yeah. Yep.
And they never actually did the cool thing.
Yep.
And that's where all of my hesitance and skepticism comes from is, I thought the Canoe was really sweet. Especially when they started teasing the truck one, they were calling it like the American Bulldog or whatever, and they were showing it off in this desert sand color with all these big metal racks on it, and I thought it looked awesome.
Yeah, I was a big fan of the Fisker Ocean. I liked how the Fisker Ocean looked.
The Fisker Ocean is a great looking car, and the interior looked awesome.
Software, pure trash, but yes, it looked great.
It looked great, and it was a great, the concept, all that stuff was good. But ultimately, building a car is hard.
It is.
It's, and having resources. Yes, building a car, not even, building a car is hard. I don't want to subtract from all the hard work that goes into it and all the engineering and all that. Building a car is expensive.
Yes.
And yes, Slate has Bezos money behind him, which who knows, but also who knows how much actual Bezos money there is behind it, right?
Yeah.
We've seen startups before have what you would think are bottomless pits of money behind them, and they still fail.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah. Well, on a different topic from an automaker that was also a startup and is hopefully around to stay and has been around for a little while, Rivian came prepared.
Prepared for what, Sebastian?
In a report from earlier this week, it seems like Rivian must have had a crystal ball, also known as a brain, and they knew to prepare for the current tariff situation. So it's being reported that Rivian began stockpiling LFP battery packs late last year in an effort to already have the items on hand in the U.S. before any potential economic tariffs went into effect. These LFP batteries are currently used in their RCV van as well as the base R1S and R1T. But it goes even further. Rivian has also apparently been shipping huge quantities of their NMC battery cells from Samsung in South Korea to stockpile in the US, which are found in their higher trims of the R1S and R1T. So Rivian apparently has been stockpiling all these batteries somewhere.
At an
In the
undisclosed
US,
location.
just sitting on them in preparation that there was going to be a lot of economic uncertainty in the future and who knew what was going to happen. My question is, how much did they stockpile?
Yeah, I mean, we heard similar reports of Apple doing the same thing, like, how many metric tons or how many of iPhones they brought over so in case these tariffs kicked in, they were already over here. So yeah, I mean, smart move. I ain't gonna lie. That's first class move there to bring all this stuff over now, not to worry about the tariffs, and to have the forethought of doing it what 6 months ago maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So
my question
probably
is
since
just
mid-November.
right.
So yeah, so I'm curious how many and how long can they do this for? I mean, Rivian is selling cars, but not selling them in as quantity as like Tesla and all them are. But they're selling their sales are going up. So it's curious to how long they can withstand this for before it starts hitting their bottom line.
Yeah, especially when you consider. Now, I don't know how much they've stockpiled. Next year when they launch R2, they're also planning to build the batteries in partnership here in the US. Do we think it's possible that they could have stockpiled enough to make it until that battery plant is ready to come online in some capacity? Maybe they then also shift to start building batteries sooner than they expected here in the US so that, maybe even if the factory is not running at 100% capacity, it's running at enough capacity to help, soften the blow.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting thought, little
It's an
experiment.
interesting concept, and I wonder if there's any other automakers that have done it, or any other companies out there that have done it we're not hearing of. Rivian,
Right.
Apple. We've heard other. Those are the two main ones we've heard of. I'm curious if anyone else has thought about this, because yes, you are American companies and things like that, but no one's getting away from these tariffs. Even Tesla, no one is getting away from these tariffs as of right now. It's gonna start affecting people's bottom line, and if you can get ahead of the game, that's smart to get ahead of the game.
Yep. All right. Well, Joel, what did we drive last week?
So we drove Cadillac last week. So the Vistic and the Optic. And I'm going to say kudos. Cadillac is stepping their game up. I mean, let's start with the Optic, which could easily be, we call it the rich man's Equinox. It could easily be my next EV. I mean, I was showing my wife it, and it was really, really nice. Comfortable. Love the whole one screen in the front. Love how it doesn't look like an Equinox, which is really cool. It has its own design. It has that whole front fascia that Cadillac is known for. Very impressed with that. What were your thoughts on the Optic?
Yeah, so I love the Optic. And I specifically, if I were to get one, if it'll let me share, boom, boom. I
There
want
it
that
is.
one. I want the orange one with the black roof on the big 22-inch wheels.
Yep.
That they call Vader Chrome, which is cool. And yeah, that's the one I want. It looks so cool.
Yep. Does qualify for EV tax credit.
Does qualify for EV tax credit. The interior was a nice place to be. It had some interesting material choices. There's
The
not
blue's
really
interesting. The blue is interesting.
The blue is interesting. I didn't mind it that much. You said it had to grow on you.
Yeah.
But I love this cloth material on the dash. There's no piano black really anywhere on the interior except for this one panel, and then of course they still are doing piano black on the steering wheel.
Some on
reason.
the driver and passenger side,
and on the door panel, but
door
all
panels,
the center
yes.
console area really isn't piano black, which I
Yes.
love.
And that's
It's
there
this
that gets
carbon
scratched
fiber
up
material.
a lot. Yep.
Yeah, it's this carbon fiber material, and then again, all of this here is cloth, and this is
Yep.
cloth wrapped. It was a really cool place to be. It drove fine. I liked the way it drove. It had GM's, one pedal driving, which is generally really good.
Mm-hmm.
And so all that was nice to use, etc. It has Super Cruise, standard, all trim levels. All trim levels are standard all-wheel drive. It has an 85 kilowatt hour battery pack, which is a good capacity. It's got 300 something miles of range, which is decent. Spec wise.
And on this car, we didn't have any issues with Super Cruise, correct?
We're getting there. We'll talk
there.
about that in a minute. But yeah, this is one, I really liked the Equinox when we drove it. And this is just taking the Equinox and cranking it up, right? Sound system in this thing is awesome. Like, it rocked, dude.
It did. And did we drive the base model?
Yes, we drove the
did.
base model. And again, base model. So it had, the only thing like when I was looking at this, because if you look at it, the pricing difference between the base model, so let's say we were in a Sport 1, I believe, 54 and 57. It's not a huge difference in price between the two trim levels. Well, it's because there's not a huge difference.
How much is the Lux 1?
54 and 56. So it's even closer, actually.
Yep. So you could get into a Cadillac with the tax credit for in the high 40s.
Also, I think I lied. I think we were in a Lux 1. We weren't in a Sport.
Yeah, because I believe the sticker was right around that, yes.
Yeah, but anyway, really like the feature difference between the two is not much. So the 2 trim level adds, you can see here on the lights, it adds a couple extra cornering lamps. It adds like cooled seats and just a couple other like little things, but not anything major. So it's one of those like the base model would be fine for like 98% of what you're doing. Like, yeah.
So here's my question for you. Go back to that one more time, Sebastian. I'm sorry. Go back to that.
Okay.
Here's my question for you. Screw up a little. Would you go Lux 2 or Sport 1? If you hear that silence, it's Sebastian thinking. So he's really thinking hard on this one.
I think I like the Sport. I like the darker accent up here on the grill, and it adds in like body color, door handles, and a couple other little things. I think it looks
I like that.
sleeker.
I like that blue color there. I like that.
Yeah, it's kind of a cool. What do they call that color? Hold on. Nimbus Metallic. Ooh,
Nimbus Metallic.
It's like a cloud.
I want to work for a car company and come up with the names of the paint colors. That's what I want.
You do have to add the black roof. I think the black roof is a must.
Yep, it's only $600. Porsche, that'd be like $9,000 if you did that in Porsche.
You think only $9,000?
Right, $9,000 for a different color roof. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's the Optic. Liked it a lot. The only kind of weak spot on it is the DC fast charge rate. At least Geek is not high. Yep. It's 150 kilowatt. But even then, like when we were using the built-in route planner, it was saying I think we didn't see any stops over 30 minutes.
Nope.
Which for you and I, because we have children and all that, is fine.
Yep.
We're kind of used to anytime you stop a car with a child, you're going to be stopping for probably 30 minutes because by the time you use the bathroom and they use the bathroom and they say, oh, I want a snack, I want this, you need to stretch legs, all that, you're at 30 minutes.
I mean, most of my charge stops on Teslas are 20 to 25, so it's not...
Right, it's not even that much crazier. Yep. And, and that's, with at least for us, with kids, we're stopping for 30 minutes if we're in an EV or a gas car. It's just how it is.
Yep. Can't decide what they want to eat. So, yeah.
So, what did we drive next?
We drove next is the Vistic. So, if you're not familiar with the Vistic, it is it's a 3. So, we call it the baby Escalade or the mini Escalade. It's a 3-row SUV. This would probably be comparable to the EX90 that Volvo has out. Same price range, believe mid 80s, high 80s. I think that's what it is.
Mid 80s to 90s, yeah.
Yeah, so it's starting here. So the luxury one starts at 79, and the sport starts at so they're about the same price for the luxury and the sport. So
yeah, so the Vistic, let's just talk real quick pricing. So you can get the luxury and sport trim level. So those are kind of your 2 base trims.
Yep.
Those are the only 2 trim levels you can get federal tax credit on.
Yep.
Because there's the $80,000 rule for
barely. Yep.
For federal tax credit. So these come in right under 79 MSRP. And then after that, you jump up, you see there's a pretty big price difference between sport and the next trim level up.
Yep.
That was almost 100% on purpose, because once you go to next trim level, we see you add you add air suspension, you add rear steering, you add these night vision IR cameras.
We got to see that in Escalade was the night vision. Yep.
Yeah. You add all those really cool features, but we were in the luxury.
Yep. That
was the trim level we had. So Joel, what'd you think about it?
I mean, it was pretty, as the kids would say, it was pretty dope. I really liked it. It felt like a smaller, I mean, we had driven the Escalade a week or 2 before. It just felt like a smaller Escalade. I mean, all the features, the 3 screens, the 5-zone climb, a lot of the same features you're getting in the Escalade we're in the Vistic. And I liked how it rode, like how it drove. I'm just not a big, I'm not a big huge SUV. I don't need a large SUV. So that's my wife's cup of tea. I can settle for a smaller SUV for what I need to do. So for me, I don't need a large 3-row SUV like that. So yeah, but there's people I like, kind of the textures they do. You see on the picture in the back windows. Really like that. But yeah, it was really cool, really nice. The baby Escalade. So yeah, what were your thoughts?
So just a couple interesting tidbits. So the one we drove, and Joe, I don't know if I've actually told you this yet. I went and looked at it. It was VIN number 44.
Oh.
So it was the 44th Vistic ever produced. And that might contribute to some of what I'm about to say.
Yes.
So we'll start with good things. Baby Escalade.
Yep.
Had good power, 615 horsepower. It's got the motors from the Lyric V in it.
Yep.
Same battery pack, 112 kilowatt hour. I think gross like 102, 105 usable, which is right around where EX90 is. Right
and
around.
What was range? I can't remember range. 3 something.
Let's see. Do they
Does
tell
it
me?
say?
Do they tell me? Do they tell me? Oh my gosh. Yeah, so we say 102. Does it really not say on here? It was right around 300 miles, if I remember right.
Yeah.
I'm sure if I go somewhere on this website, it'll tell me. Anyway.
Yep.
So, yeah, 305.
Yeah, I was thinking 303, so I was close. There we go.
Sound system bumped.
Yes, it did.
It was good. It was real good.
For the low end model, yes.
The optic was good. This was a little better. And I've not heard anyone say anything bad about the optic sound system. So that's not just you and me thinking it was good. Apparently everyone thinks the optic is good.
Everyone loves it, yes.
This is a little bit better. But yeah, quick, 0 to 60, 3.7 seconds in a Cadillac that's got 3 rows is an impressive number. I know, Model X Plaid is a 3-row SUV and it's faster. Or
no, it's not a 3-row SUV. It's a 2-row SUV that they throw Rivian. A third row in the back, yeah.
Yeah, or you do a Rivian Quad or something, that'll be quicker. But again, $80,000 starting price. They're all that fast. Again, it's a 3-row SUV too. You don't really care about 0 to 60 times in a 3-row SUV, or at least you shouldn't. Anyway, so all that was good. Materials felt good. It drove well. Suspension and stuff was comfortable. I'm really interested to try out. Hopefully our dealership will get one in the, let me come back here.
One with the air suspension, yes.
Yes. So once you get into the premium luxury, because you add air suspension, which should, give you a little bit more comfortable ride, whatever. That's also where you add in the rear steer, because this is a large vehicle and you could feel that going around corners. It was one of those two. The steering wheel, it was like 4 turns lock to lock.
Yep.
It was like driving what you expect driving like an old school Cadillac would be, where you just
with no power steering. You got to keep going.
Here's the medium.
Yep.
This is the first ever GM vehicle to feature lane centering outside of Super Cruise. First time ever.
How'd that work out for you, Sebastian?
This is a 2026 model year. It took GM this long for some unknown reason to offer this as a feature, to where if you're not on a pre-mapped highway using Super Cruise, your car will actually stay in between the 2 lane lines instead of ping-ponging, back and forth. But because ours, I have a feeling, was VIN number 44, I have a feeling this is the reason why, and maybe there's a couple bits and pieces not lined up correctly, etc. It didn't work for us.
It didn't. It tried to work, but it tried to work, but it didn't.
And Super Cruise also really didn't work for us. So
yeah, it said not available. Or we were going through we actually had to stop filming and pull off and try to figure it out. So
there was a couple odd things that happened. So when we first were trying to activate it, it kept telling us, "Oh, well, adaptive cruise isn't on. You have to have adaptive cruise enabled to do Super Cruise." Which, I feel like the car should be smart enough to know if I'm hitting the Super Cruise button, turn on adaptive cruise control.
Yes.
That's because I know it's hitting the button. Well, apparently, so on GM vehicles, you can press and hold the button to switch between regular cruise control and adaptive cruise control. I didn't know that. Cool feature. Kind of cool.
Now you know.
You press and hold the cancel cruise control button, though, to switch modes, which seemed like a little counterintuitive.
Yep.
Anyway, so we finally got adaptive cruise gone. Then we got back out on the road, and we're on the interstate, and this is a stretch of interstate we've used Super Cruise on other GM vehicles a million times.
Yep.
Every time we've driven a car with Super Cruise and done a review on it, we're on the same stretch of interstate every time, essentially. we were in an optic earlier that same day.
No problems.
It's not a mapping issue. Road is mapped.
Yep.
We get on it. Super Cruise won't enable. It keeps telling us, and then it just says no road information, no road information. And then it comes up and says, you can't use Super Cruise because you're traveling in an exit lane.
Yeah. We were not an exit lane.
In the middle lane of a 3-lane interstate.
Yes,
we're in
I
the
remember
middle
that.
lane. And it says you can't do it because you're in the exit lane. And so then I hit the button a couple more times, and I saw it pop up the icon for the lane centering, but I didn't process what it was doing because it never actually locked on.
Uh-huh.
I actually learned that the car had lane centering, like actual honest to God lane centering, because I was watching a review of that Kyle Connor did, because apparently we drove him at the same time.
Yep.
And he just, I guess, edits videos faster than I do.
Yes.
He's cooler than me. Anyway.
He does have a schedule like we do, so.
Anyway, and he was super excited about it. And I was like, so then I go back and I was watching clips. I was like, oh yeah, sure enough, that was what the icon was on the bottom of the screen, but it never once turned green to show that it was locked on. And so after we finished filming, we were on our way back to the dealership, and it did kick Super Cruise on for approximately 10 seconds and then canceled because it said we were traveling in an exit lane.
Yep. That good old exit lane.
So,
and we did check for a software update. The car at that time said it did not need a software update.
Yeah, and so in our video, we do talk about that. We do point it out. We do point out, that it was very early. We are in an early car. We were like, hey, maybe this can be fixed in software update, etc. However, I tweeted a little bit about it because I was like a little confused, especially because I saw, other people who have driven new Vistics, and they didn't have issues. I was like, okay, maybe there's something wrong with the car. And I saw, Nebula, I think his handle on Twitter is Nebula Electric. Anyway, he's like the guru, knows everything about GM vehicles and GM EVs on the internet. He's in like all of the GM EV forums and Twitter and threads and all the places. Anyway, he made a comment that he's seen where on early vehicles, especially when they were like launching Silverado and stuff, where Super Cruise exhibited similar behavior, and it turned out to be a camera calibration issue. So during manufacturing, the camera maybe wasn't installed in the exact correct position, etc. And this being an early, number 44, I could see where that could be the case.
Is that solved with a software update?
So that wouldn't be a software update situation. That would be a get the cameras realigned situation. But I'm not saying that's 100% what happened. It could also just be that buggy, but it wouldn't surprise me knowing that it was VIN number 44, and we all know how the very early VIN cars of any manufacturer tend to go. When Tesla was launching Model 3 or Model Y, they were using actual wood to hold in parts in a couple places.
Yeah.
We know how it is.
I believe my wife, I need to go look at my wife's Kia EV6 because she probably has one of the very early VINs as well. I think she was the second person who buy a car in Central Arkansas with her EV6 in 2022. So I'm curious now you got me wondering what that VIN number is. I need to go check that.
So anyway, other than that though, it rode great. It was handled great. It handled like it was a Furo SUV, but it was a baby Escalade. And it was, when you look at the other 3-row SUVs on the market right now that are EVs, you have R1S, which I think is smaller.
Yep.
You have
the third
EV9,
row is smaller on that for sure.
You have EV9 that, yes, starts cheaper, but in order to get one as nice as the Vistic, you're spending within like $5,000 of the same amount of money to get similar range, better charging.
And I think that is smaller too.
Maybe.
Yeah.
You also have EX90, which to me, EX90 is the direct competitor. And then you have Gravity. Gravity is an interesting one because allegedly at some point it's going to start at $80,000.
It's a minivan.
It's
a minivan with SUV doors. That's what it is. So
maybe, but it is an interesting consideration.
Concept, yes.
And the only other 3-row EV on the market right now is the ID Buzz, which is actually a van. And I wouldn't put in the same, no one's cross shopping a Vistic with an ID Buzz, I feel like. And so, it's just an interesting spot. I think what really saves on the Vistic is the two base trim levels, luxury and sport, are both perfectly adequate, very nice vehicles that both currently qualify for the full $7,500 tax credit. So then you're talking $73,000.
Yep.
Instead of almost $80,000.
And any
You
dealer
know,
incentives that may be out there too as
and
well.
then any additional incentives that you could get. And I think as far as a luxury car goes, it's a very good deal at 73 grand for what you
Yes.
get. You know,
Yep.
because again, they're all standard all-wheel drive, all standard Super Cruise, etc., stuff like that. But I think it does have steep competition though, especially from the likes of like an EX90 or people that are into Rivian or into, oh, well, I can buy the Kia and maybe it's a little cheaper and it'll charge a little better, things like that, has similar range. So yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, that is a wrap for today's episode.
Do you want to stop sharing real quick?
Oh, I can do that. Thank you.
Now you can wrap it up. There you go.
All right. Well, that is a wrap for today's episode. Thank you all for plugging into the Friday Charge. Be sure to subscribe to the EV Geek podcast on YouTube and tap that notification icon to be notified about our new releases. Next week, we release a video on the Porsche Taycan, I believe is next week.
Yep.
And Wednesday, we will release a podcast episode talking about every feature that an EV needs to have according to you.
That's right.
Not according to Joel, but according to you,
Nope.
the audience.
The viewers.
If you guys have any thoughts or questions, drop them in the comments below because we'd love to hear from you. So long, everyone, and we will see you on the next episode of The Friday Charge.